of guy than an every down receiver. They're going to be on the field every down, and Cooks is certainly drawing a lot of attention right now because he's probably the bigger threat out of the three receivers. But Michael Thomas is simply going to get more targets because he is more of a prototype, and he's been so successful right now. And the catches he made Sunday, show me all those catches and say he didn't deserve to catch those, or he's not the only Saints receiver that can make some of those plays. For example, the touchdown where he breaks through two defenders to get it in. Cooks can't make that play. Cooks might get juke move or something to try to make them miss. Cooks isn't running through two secondary players into the end zone. He just doesn't have that size. But that's that type of receiver that you're looking for when you're a 5'11" Drew Brees. And when you have that, you use that. And that doesn't mean you stop using Cooks, but Cooks is not that number one type of design. And now they have a complementary set on either side of the field. So one game, Cooks might unload and go 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. Next game, he might get 30 yards and Michael Thomas goes 120. As a team, you got to be happy because you can spread the ball wherever you need to and find success. And I don't think a guy like Cooks or even Snead or Thomas or Drew Brees or Mark Ingram and Tim Hightower, any of those people are going to get upset if the team is winning. Now, if we're talking and we're like a 2-14 season this year, yeah, I'm sure players start looking more at their individual stats because they're saying, hey, maybe this ain't the place to be. But we're not the Browns. We're a team that's on the verge. We're on the precipice of becoming something. You know what I mean? So this team is building towards that. Everybody knows that we've got a young core finally again. We've drafted well finally again. It's taken so long to get a good draft. I don't think after one game Brandon Cooks is throwing a hissy fit. I just don't.
Here's what makes it even more preposterous. You know the beautiful thing about Mike Thomas going off the way he did on the Rams defense? Is that next week the Lions are going to game plan to stop Mike Thomas. And when you game plan to stop Mike Thomas, you're going to leave somebody open. And that is the beauty of the Saints offense right now. The week before, was it 2 weeks ago, Brandon Cooks went off. And, of course, because Cooks goes off, that leaves Michael Thomas open or Willie Snead open. You literally have to pick your poison with the Saints, and the guy that you do not pick or you can't cover, it's usually the guy that destroys you. So if you want to bracket cover Brandon Cooks, just fine. Go ahead. We've got Michael Thomas. You want to double blanket both of those guys? Willie Snead will eat you alive. And just when you think you figured it all out, he's going to throw to Josh Hill and Kobe Fleener. And right when you think you're going to bring up those guys and cheat a little bit, here comes Mark Ingram out of the backfield for a wheel route. The Saints are literally destroying teams right now because if Brandon Cooks goes without a target, without a touch, without a touchdown, it doesn't matter because the very next week, whoever went off, that's who the next team is going to try to stop. And when you do, it's going to leave Brandon Cooks open. I would almost bet my house Brandon Cooks goes off this week because people are going to try to stop the Lions are going to game plan to stop Michael Thomas. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
But they're going to game plan to try to stop him, and Brandon Cooks is going to eat.
Well, let's also say this, and I don't want to say this in a I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to put the cart before the horse type of thing. Offensively, the Lions are much better than the Rams, but defensively, they're not better than the Rams. This is a game at home, which I will be at, by the way, so let's hope for a Saints win, that they should dominate in terms of offense versus defense. If they can pull off 49 points, 555 yards, and find their stride at home against the Rams defense, then they should be able to do the same thing towards the Lions. If we've really reached the point where everything's starting to click, Ingram's hitting his stride, Tim Hightower has shown that he has a great change of pace back, and he's ready to take those extra carries when needed, to or even catch out of the backfield. Which, when have you ever seen him do that in his career? You've got a full complement of wide receivers. Kobe Fleener has finally found his own. It took him half the season. Line has come out of nowhere to be successful. All the tools are there, and if it's finally clicking, and Sean Payton got his mojo back because he was able to take his revenge out on Greg Williams, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, and I'm sure you've got some things to add to that. And it's finally there. We finally reached it. Maybe we can actually start talking playoff push in a more positive light instead of, yeah, it's possible, but get ready for your 14th overall pick.
I'm not ready to just say it just yet. And it's kind of like I can't think of who the guy's name is. You know, we had the Twitter conversation about the Saints and making the playoffs. I don't want to see the Saints have to, play, mathematical musical chairs in order to try to get into the playoffs. If the Saints want to get into the playoffs, here's how you do it. Win your game. It's there for the taking. You have 2 games against Tampa, as you mentioned, a game against Atlanta, as you mentioned, and you have some NFC opponents and the Cardinals and the Lions that you have on the menu as well. Win your game. You win those games and you are in the playoffs. Bottom line. It doesn't get any easier than that. I understand, it's easier said than done, but hey, I don't want to hear it. I don't like participation trophies. I don't like moral victory. If you want to get into the playoffs, win your game, especially your division game. Mm-hmm. And that is the problem that I have with Saints fans who want to kind of backdoor their way into the playoffs because, hey, as long as we get into the playoffs, it's great. No, it's not. Because it's the same mentality you had early in the season. If you win the game against New York, you don't need New York to lose the game later on. If you beat Carolina, you don't need to worry about somebody else helping you out. Take care. It's always what coaches say. Take care of your business first.
Yeah.
Then worry about everything else. If the Saints don't win their games, it doesn't matter who else loses. And I think that's the point you made on Twitter, which I found absolutely profound. If the Saints don't win their games, it doesn't matter what else happens. So win your game. And the Saints have found some type of recipe for winning games lately. I mean, I went back and looked at a couple of the games. The Saints in the second half aren't allowing teams to score pretty much at all. Yeah. So whatever second half adjustments Dennis Allen is making, it's absolutely working. He needs to apply it to the first half.
Yeah, I would say he's been phenomenal. I think the past 6 games or so, or 8 games, we've allowed like 6 second half points or something. But in the first half, we're allowing like 20. So we've got to work on that. But yeah, if he could apply that second half to the first half, we'd be grand.
Not to mention that, but the Saints offense also has to help out. Drew can't take that sack and fumble. Now, I was at the game this week against the Rams, so I had a closer view and I had a chance to really look at the field and see what was going on instead of having to watch it on TV with the camera angles. I was able to see, from an up close point of view.
Yeah.
The offense can't keep helping out the opposing team. You can't keep giving them opportunities with turnovers. I mean, a 3-and-out is one thing, but to give the team the ball inside of in the red zone that you just can't put your defense in that type of situation. And that led directly to points for the Rams. So you can't do that.
I'm with you there, man. I also want to throw this out there just because we mentioned it briefly. This is how good the Rams defense is. Everybody watched and saw how we completely destroyed the Rams Sunday, right? I mean, everybody witnessed that happen. 555 yards, 49 points. We all saw that, right? Even with that happening to them, they are still ranked 9th in the NFL in total defense. Giving up that many yards, they're still ranked 9th. By comparison, the team that we're about to face is ranked 15th and has not faced an offense like the Saints. If anything, the AFC North has had a relatively easy schedule where the NFC South has probably had the toughest run of all the teams. Think of people we've played, like the Chiefs and, the Giants, who are a playoff team right now, and the Raiders, who to me are still the division winners and probably will win the division. Broncos, defending Super Bowl champs, don't have Peyton Manning, but they got the best defense in the NFL. Those type of teams that we're playing. And then you got the Lions in a division where it seems like the entire division, it reminds me of the NFC South of before the Sean Payton era, where every team is shooting themselves in the foot to see who can lose out and not win the division. Minnesota Vikings come out, look like they're going to be everything the division's needed from Minnesota in the decade, and now they're losing every game. Aaron Rodgers has suddenly turned into Aaron Glenn, and he can't throw a pass. It's like he doesn't know how to be a quarterback anymore. I mean, the Matthew Stafford interception turnover-heavy Lions are the favorites to win the division, and they could implode in any week. They're the Falcons of the NFC North. So I think that we have a great chance. I'm so excited because this is the day that I can finally get optimistic about an actual, real playoff potential team because things are healthy. Ellerby has looked phenomenal since he's got back. Delvin Breaux's getting his feet back under him. Sheldon Rankins There's a stat on Twitter. I wish I knew who posted it because I would give them credit. If it was you, call in, claim it. I don't care. But they posted, and I didn't verify it, but I believe it. I will later. 12 of the Saints' 22 sacks have come since Sheldon Rankins returned. He's got 2 of them. But the amount of interior pressure, taking things off Cam Jordan where Cam's not double-teamed every play anymore, stuff like that, LLB being healthy, things just seem to be falling into place for us. I'd hope that it would come 4 weeks ago. But if it took to now and we still got a chance to get in, that's great. I'll take it however I can get it.
You and I were discussing this via Twitter. And first of all, let me just say this. Cam Jordan has elevated his game yet again. I don't know how he did it, but he has elevated his game yet again. He looks like he's creating more pressure than any defensive end I'm watching in the NFL right now. He may not be getting the sacks to back it up, but the pressure and the QB hurry that he's applying right now, it's ridiculous. And
hey, now, I remember a certain somebody in this chat claiming that he was the king of the almost sack, and now you're defending him for it.
I have to give him credit. He's still the king of the almost sack. But goodness, if he's applying that much pressure, then I mean, I can't help it. You know, I've always said this. You may look at me and call me an idiot, but I'm an honest idiot. I mean, I give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
So you can call me arrogant, but at least call me honest. So I don't mind that at all. But when it comes to what he's doing lately, I've got to give credit where it's due. And he's doing more than his fair share of a job right now. But when it comes to the Saints, you and I discussed this via Twitter. I don't know when the last time we saw them go on a 6-game winning streak, but if there's a time in which you want to do it, this is as good a time as any for you to just go on a 6-game win streak and just go ahead on and wrap it up and leave the rest of the season at 10-6.
Yeah.
And this is a great game to do it because Detroit is going to test the Saints in one area that they have not been tested, and that's what do you do when you feel like you've got the lead and the other team is capable of coming back? In my head, it was a revenge game for the Saints. There was no way possible the Saints were going to let off the gas in that game. If Sean Payton could have scored 60, he was going for it. It could have been 4th and 21, inside the red zone, right outside the red zone. Sean would have kicked the field goal. It wouldn't have been a situation where he just takes a knee, not against Greg Williams. Now I want to see what happens when it's not a person that you hate. What's going to happen, and the Lions have shown, the fourth quarter is their time. If they're down by 10 in the fourth quarter, the game is not over. So I want to see what happens to the Saints if they can get up to an early lead. And by the way, I believe they will. I believe this is one of those games where the Saints jump out early and try to have to protect the lead. And that's going to be the struggle. Can you protect the lead when it's not somebody you hate? That's what I'm interested to see because the Lions are going to test them there because they won't quit. If they're down by 10, 13 in the fourth quarter, they will not quit. They believe they can come back, and they've shown that they can. And sometimes a little bit of belief is all you need.
I think a lot of that, too, is it's not as much the team because, let's be honest, most of this team wasn't around when Greg Williams and the Bounty Gate happened. Most of the roster has turned over since then. So for me, the key on that is, can Sean Payton stay angry? Can he stay hungry? Can he keep that fire that he had Sunday when he very obviously wanted to destroy Greg Williams, not just his defense, he wanted to destroy his reputation. He wanted to come out and say, you're a top 10 defense, watch this. That's the Sean Payton. I tweeted this Sunday. I haven't seen the Saints offense look like that, behave like that, run like that, pass like that, have play creativity like that since the 2009 to 2011 3 seasons where every year was a Super Bowl contender year. That is the last time I've seen the Saints have that type of, you could have said that like in 2013, 2014, there were quarters where it looked like Sean Payton was his normal self. And I say quarters specifically because like the New York Jets game, there was a couple of quarters, the Patriots game. I mean, there's been a little bit of time where it's like, man, that's the flash, that's the glimmer. But Sunday, that was 100% original, all-natural Sean Payton. Can he keep that going? Has he finally got that fire back in him that we've said has been missing for years, and he carries that on? Because if that Sean Payton shows up, this team wins out. If he doesn't and we're back to, it's 3rd and 1 at the goal line and you've got the best wide receiver group and the best quarterback in the NFC and that type of deal, and you're running Tim Hightower up the middle when you got John Kuhn, like the really stupid play calling. If that comes back, well, who knows what's going on. But if he can say how he was, where on 4th and 2, we were in a